Hello guys, my nickname is Angry and in this video I will be talking about Wolf Season 1 from Taboo FX series, mostly from James's perspective. As you could see, I am a reviewist and I am planning on creating bonus Taboo videos at least for next month, so be sure to click that subscribe button to get that. Taboo is one of the newest TV shows that premiered 7 January 2017, and since then, this awesome franchise managed to create a huge fanbase that is eagerly waiting for next season, which is definitely coming if you didn't know it. But before that, we should enjoy the taste of season 1 once again. Why not? Why shouldn't we rewatch it, right? So, the season started with James coming home after he spent 5 years in African jungle. The viewers didn't know what is going on at that time, but that wasn't the case for James, right? James came back because his father died, but mainly to get the rights to Nootka Sound, the land that James's father owned during his life, and after his death, James got legal rights to obtain it. And let's say that he wasn't the only one who wanted to get it. His sister's husband, his father's lawyer, and a bunch of leaders from East India Company. All of them wanted Nootka Sound for their business interests, because this land gives anyone who owns it clear traffic line to China and its goods. So there is no doubt that this is the main interest of the season. Land that is far from London where the season actually took place. Other main thing we get to know in pilot episode is that James has some shamanistic magical power. Thanks to them, James is far ahead from everyone, not only us viewers but also the characters in the story. He came to England with set game plan which he executed perfectly. But I shouldn't get ahead of myself. So, the fact that new heir of Old Man Delaney has come back from nowhere was a huge pain in the ass of East India Company leaders who actively tried to convince him to sell the land, and after they haven't succeeded, they tried to murder him. Well, that went almost as planned because James was damaged, but it wasn't lethal, and he also managed to kill the murderer. After this, American spy leader called Mr. Dumbarton fixed him while also damaging him to get more information he wanted from James, which he would give to him anyway. Afterwards, James got back home and fixed what was damaged on his body, and I shouldn't forget that he created a will that makes him untouchable towards East India. By other words, if James dies, Nootka Sound goes to Americans. So, to this mess comes a lady named Lorna Delaney. She is the third wife of Horace Delaney, James's father. This is a big problem for James because half of his property is now in possession of this unknown actress that was once a wife of his father, even though the best friend of his father, aka servant called Brace, haven't seen this woman in his life. This is of course a huge opportunity for East India to put James aside and take control of this woman to get the rights for Nootka Sound. After all, they have more money than God. I think that it would work for them very well if they got to her in time, because James himself can be very persuasive and he managed to explain to Mrs. Delaney the situation around Nootka Sound and that she is in danger. But not from him, rather from Americans, East India and the Crown. And yes, of course, I forgot to mention that during all of this there is a war between America and England, and Nootka Sound has border with America that makes her a concern for British Crown, as for Americans. After a while we see that English Crown was the first to get to Mrs. Delaney, but they haven't succeeded with the good way, so they kidnapped her and sold her to some aristocrat who wanted to have a nice time with famous actress. And as was expected by the Crown, she stabbed him, and that gave them the opportunity to arrest her and force her to assign any document they will prepare for her. But that didn't work because James understood what is going on and warned East India, which took action against the Crown. And thanks to James's quick reaction, Mrs. Delaney was protected kinda from both sides. So after these events, Mrs. Delaney decided to stay with James, maybe because she loves him, but from the start because after all, she still owned the half of the property of Delaney's family. No matter what, she stayed with James till the end. Okay, now back to James. We were slowly getting to know what was James's plan from the start. He created Delaney Trade Company, he bought ship and found manpower that could sail with it. There were only two things left. One was that he missed something to sell, and second one, the rights to do so. James knew that neither of them will be granted by Crown, so he used other means to get them. He met with American spy network leader called Carlsbad, who actively tried to kill James by sending murderers. So, by meeting her, he started a partnership with Americans. During the meeting, James used his manpower to get his business commodity, which is nothing else than gunpowder. He stole essential things that can lead to creation of gunpowder from East India docks, but because it was in possession of Crown, it caused him a lot more trouble than it could. With this goes chemistry guy called Mr. Chun Lee, who was in fact the one who actually created this gunpowder at the end. But nothing can be that easy, right? Because American spy network is really huge, they managed to obtain the information where they are creating the gunpowder, and because they were in need of it, they ordered James to give it to them. Of course, they didn't ask for everything. So, the transaction was easy, but there was another problem. One of James's minions revealed the place where he was creating gunpowder to East India, but thanks to the fact that James had spy inside East India, he managed to escape with gunpowder in time. So, this way James has his gunpowder and the only thing he needs is allowance to leave London and wherever he wants to go. Into this comes another character called Mr. Chichester, who seeks justice for what happened 5 years ago when James was marked as dead man when he helped to sink a ship called Influence. This is a huge problem for Sir Stuart, the head of East India, and of course East India as a company, but they don't have a way to destroy him because he has full protection from the Crown, which basically sent him to hunt down mentioned East India leader. After these events, East India has gone rogue. They started war with James, they destroyed his ship, and because he doesn't have any money for a new one, it was a really clever move. It got for James even worse because he was drinking, and when he woke up, the daughter of one of his companions was murdered, and James was the main suspect of this murder. The companion called Helga went to East India and told them everything about what James was doing, as an act of revenge. This way Crown got legal rights to send him into Tower of London, where he was tortured. Before they started, he said that he will give them everything, all the information they want, but only if they bring to him Sir Stuart, the mentioned head of East India. And well, at the end they did. He used the power over him, which was granted by mentioned Mr. Chichester because James and his spy from East India were the two main witnesses of the crimes that East India made. So, just to make it quick, he used Sir Stuart to obtain ship and Carlsbad to obtain rights for sailing into America with any type of cargo. And I shouldn't forget that James got free because Crown had to let him go on orders from Sir Stuart, so the only obstacle here was to leave London. But that was an easy task because Crown realized that it will be for the best to simply kill James, even though it would mean that Nootka Sound goes right to the Americans. But at the end, James managed to escape and he's headed for America. So guys, this was my humble review of the Season 1 from James's perspective. I know I left a lot of critical details of the story, but I wanted to give you the main story viewed by James's eyes. I thank you so much for watching, and if you are interested, you can watch my review of the final episode or subscribe so you don't miss my future videos, like review of whole season by perspective of someone else. See ya next time!